time to update you on my Shop My Stash picks that I've used over the last 2 weeks and pick some new things. So for primers, I had a few. I ended up using up the rest of the Tarte Timeless Smoothing Primer, and I think I will repurchase it at some point, but for now I'm just going to go through the rest of the primers that I have because I have enough to keep me occupied. I also have the All Nighter Glow and the Becca Ever Matte. I like both of these. This one definitely does give me a glow, especially when I pair it with a glowy foundation. And this is matte. So, I mean, of course you can't really get this one anymore. I did hear long ago people talking about the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop primer being similar to this. But I like the primers, but I think I'm going to take the Ever Matte out. I might keep the All Nighter for another round. For foundation, I used the NARS Naturally Radiant and the NARS Soft Matte. I love these. I do prefer the matte foundation just because I think my skin just does a bit better with matte foundation since I have oily skin and I typically have long days, so I don't have to really touch up a ton or until like much later in the evening with the soft matte, as opposed to the NARS. At some point it does look glowy and then it starts to look oily. So I think I am going to take both of these out and pick a new foundation. For concealer, I used the Hourglass Vanish Concealer and also the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define. This one I'm pretty much done with because it's just really dried out. So that is going into my empties bin. And this one, I think I'm actually making some progress on using it up. So I think I'm going to keep this in the next round. For eye primer, my Makeup by Mario primer. This isn't going anywhere. Like, it's not going anywhere. Love it. Keeping it in. Let's see. Now for my powders, I had the Revolution Glow Matte Bronzer in the shade Dark as my powder bronzer. I actually didn't end up using this maybe once over the past 2 weeks. Not that I don't like it, I just was using creams a lot more. So for the cream bronzer that I was using, it is the Vanessa Myricks Power Bronzer in the shade Deep. So I'm making a dent in that, and that's kind of why I was sticking with this, because I want to hit some pan. And then I also had the Cover FX the Cover FX Blush Duo in Spiced Cinnamon. Here is that. And I used this maybe like once along with the Revolution bronzer, but I was focusing on my Milani Cheek Kiss blush in the shade Merlot Moment. So I was just kind of on a cream kick, surprisingly. And then for powders, I continued to use the Pat McGrath Under Eye Setting Powder in yellow. That's pan. So that's like a bigger pan than last time. And the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder in the shade 4. So I used the Pat McGrath powder to set my under eyes, and then I used the Charlotte Tilbury to set my entire face. I also put in the Cover FX Loose Setting Powder. I used this a few times, but I was really focusing on using the Charlotte Tilbury, so I think I'm going to put this in for the next round. And for lips, I had more lipsticks than I thought. So this one, which is from Urban Decay, it is the Vice lipstick, like the old school ones. And this is in the shade Ravenswood. I'm going to keep this in because I am trying to completely pan this. So this is just going to stay in until I'm done. with it. And then I had these two from Juvias Place. This is a liquid lipstick in the shade Bronzed Toast, and this lipstick is in the shade Toffee. These are really good brown nudes. So here is Toffee, and here, or I'm sorry, here is the Bronzed Toast, and here is Toffee. And the last shade is the shade Heroin Red from NARS. I think I used this once or twice. All right, so those were all of the face products. Now the eye products that I used. So I picked out 3 eyeshadow palettes, and then I usually give myself like a freebie for Fridays or whatever day during the week that maybe I want to try something else. So the first one that I picked out was the Melt Rust palette, and I did manage to use pretty much all of the shades. Initially I was like, oh, this is boring, I don't like it, but the more I used it, the more I came to appreciate it. Like, this is a good kind of everyday palette for those of you who really like these brown shades, mustardy shades. So yeah, like, it's probably one that I would pick up when I just want to do something easy. Actually, it's what I have on my eyes. That's cute. That's not boring. Okay. The next one is another Melt palette. This is the She's in Parties palette. I really enjoyed this palette. It is sort of like one note in terms of you're just gonna get a pinky purple look. So if you're not into those colors, ooh, you are not gonna like this. I do feel like the purples are a bit more of a berry, kind of a deep berry color than some of my other palettes that have purples in them. But I really liked this one. It's just that you really have to like purple, or else you're just probably not gonna get that much use out of it. And the third palette I picked is the Pat McGrath Mothership 1. And here it is. And I used pretty much all of the shades. This is one palette where I haven't quite found the looks that I love in this palette. I did try to like switch it up a bit and like use more of the colors, but it's just one that I'm gonna have to give it another go around, or maybe pair it with another palette, just because I wasn't as excited about it. Now, the 2 palettes that I let myself play around with, the first one is the Vanessa Myricks Lightwork Volume 3 palette. Here it is. And so I used a couple of the shades. I used Spacesuit, which is here, and Gaia there. And I still like it. I really am enjoying it. I'm not sure how much I'm going to use that glitter called Orion. Not quite sure. Now, the only thing with this is I tend to use eyeshadow primer. I use my Makeup by Mario primer. I will put the cream down, and more often than not now I will set it with powder. But what I did notice is when I had this on top of that primer, that it did crease just at the folds of my eyelids, and I was able to just rub back into it. Lord, hit myself in the mouth. I was able to just rub my finger back in and pat it on. But I could definitely notice that there was some creasing. I don't know if other people could notice. If they did, they didn't tell me. So what I'm going to do the next time around that I use this, I am not going to use it with primer, because I honestly don't think I've ever seen Vanessa Myricks use primer when she's doing like her model's makeup. So I'm going to try that because I really want them to be long lasting. But that's also something I kind of noticed with some of the non-matte color fix. So I think the trick might be for me to not prime my eyes. So we'll see how everything shows up without a primer. And then the last one I allowed myself to play with is the Natasha Janona Glam Face Palette in Dark. And I've used this several times now. So I've really been liking it. I went into my office a couple days ago and I just used this entire palette for my eye look as well as cheeks. I kind of want to keep it back in there, but I think I need to give some love to some other products. Now, I did do a video swatching this and doing a look with it, and then I did a second video where I compared this dark palette to the light one. So you can check those out to see my full thoughts on that. All right, now let's go ahead and start picking what I will focus on next. Okay, I'm hoping you can see well. Before I pick my foundation, I will go ahead and pick my primer. So I think, like I said a bit earlier, I will keep the Urban Decay All Nighter. I'll keep that one in there. And since that one is a glowy one, I definitely want to get one that is a bit more matte. And so I am going to use the Peach Perfect, actually, that's the foundation. I want the primer. The Peach Perfect Primed and Peachy Primer. I like it fine. It has sort of a peach tint to it. So there's that, and that definitely gives a more matte finish. So that is what I will use for my primers. Okay, so then why don't we go into foundation? Now, since I'm using the peach one, I'll just go ahead and pull out the Comfort Matte Peach Perfect foundation, so they can be buddies together. So that is one foundation I will use. And I have long days this week. So for me, that means I want to have some stuff on that is going to stay on. So I think, what will I use? I'm deciding between Dior and Fenty. You know what? I think I'm going to go with Dior. The reason being that I am probably going to go into my office this week at least one day. And when I tell you, sometimes I have to park behind God's back and like walk 10,000 miles to get to my office, I sort of need something that's going to stay on. And the Dior is pretty good. And even if it doesn't like stay on as well, it definitely can hold up to sweat. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick this one. So I've got my foundations and my primers, and I think that is it for this little compartment here. Okay, so let's do concealer, under eye powder, because those are ones that I think I'm pulling from the previous Shop My Stash. So I'm going to keep working on the Hourglass concealer. It's one that I really like. And I'm also, and I want to finish the whole thing up. And I'm also going to keep working on my Pat McGrath under eye setting powder in yellow. I want to get some more pan on that. So these aren't super exciting because they're ones I've already been using. I'm trying to think if I should get another concealer. Here are some that I currently have out. So I have the Marc Jacobs Caffeine Extra Shot Concealer. I have the Marc Jacobs Accomplice Concealer. I have the Pat McGrath, and I have a Cover FX. And this is actually just the Fenty Pumpkin Bright Fix. Haven't used that as much, so I'm gonna have to give that some love at some point. Now the Pat McGrath one is pretty light, and it's definitely good for when I'm going for a full coverage, because this is definitely a full coverage concealer. I don't think it's that serious right now. So I think what I will do is I will bring this one out again, the Cover FX concealer. So, ooh, you know what? Wait a minute. You know what I want to do? So I have a drawer of like backup concealers. Leave me alone. So, let's see. I kind of want to use, and everything's falling. I kind of want to pull out my Dose of Colors concealers because I haven't used those in a while. They have just been sitting. But then I also have this e.l.f. one. Somebody remind me not to buy any more concealers because there's another drawer with some other ones, okay? Here's this e.l.f. Camo Concealer. This one is like super thick. Definitely full coverage, if you can see that. I think this is the shade that I use to like spot conceal. And then we've got the Dose of Colors ones. I have shades 23 and 25. I remember getting one and then thinking I wanted the other one too when they were on sale. So I think I will just put these in there. I can't remember which shade I prefer, so I'll just put both in there for now and I'll use the one that I like. Okay, time to go with bronzer and blush, and since I'm continuing to try to pan this Milani Cheek Kiss blush, I'm going to put this one in there again. It's got a really good dip in there, so that will be my blush. And for bronzer, I'm gonna stick with the creams and continue with the Danessa Myricks bronzer. I think if I decide to just keep these in there until I hit pan or something, then I'll make sure to next time choose like other ones so that I mix it up. So there is that. And then for eye primer, come on, I'm gonna still use this, okay? I use this all the time, every day. So that's the Makeup by Mario Prep and Set. But also I have this little like small, what is this, like travel size mini size eye primer from ABH. So I'm gonna work on that because it's a mini one and I should be able to get through it. I've used it before and I like it fine. Nobody comes between me and my Mario though. Okay, so the fun part is next, at least the fun part for me, and that is picking my eyeshadow palettes. So here we go. Okay, so I'm going to start in this bottom drawer. This has some of the palettes that, like, I have one or two from that brand. Then the other drawers that I have, we'll go into those. But I just got this Tom Ford eyeshadow palette, and I have not used Tom Ford eyeshadow before, so I'm gonna pull this one out. It is called the 04 Honey. Is it honeymoon? Yes, 04 honeymoon. I mean, I'm not going on a honeymoon, but I don't mind looking like I am, so that's fine. But I'm gonna go ahead and pull this one, and I'm excited to use it because these are definitely colors that I like. Okay, I'm considering this Nabla Side by Side palette. It has a lot of shades, and I really like that pink one. You can see I've been using that a lot. I'm kind of thinking of having some sort of neutral palette, but I'm not sure yet. So I'm just going to put this one aside for now. I think I'm done with that drawer. Now let's go on to this drawer. Okay, so this has a lot of, not a lot, this has all of my larger Natasha Janona palettes and I just put the face palette in there. I'm not quite sure if that's where I want to keep it or not, but my smaller Natasha Denonas, like the 5 pans, are in a separate place. I've actually been kind of wanting to pull out some of my Huda palettes just because she came out with that new palette recently, and I didn't pick it up because I'm not convinced that it's going to show up well on my skin tone. So I was thinking, you know what, I should use the Huda palettes and see what I think again. So the one that I have liked the least, that everyone seems to like the most, is Mercury Retrograde. I don't know. It's not my favorite. Like, people love it. So I think I'm gonna give it another shot. Yeah, I'm gonna give it another shot. I'm not excited about it though, so that's probably telling me something. And then I'm gonna choose between the New Nude and the Naughty Nude. But you know what? I feel like the Naughty Nude has similar, can I open it? Has a similar vibe as the Honeymoon one from Tom Ford. Does it? I don't know. So there's that one. There's the Naughty Nude. Okay. And then here is the New Nude. I do love my pinky purple tones. Okay, so I think I'll go with the New Nude because I would say the New Nude and Mercury Retrograde are probably the two that I use the least out of the 5 larger palettes that I have of hers. So I'm going to pull these two out and make sure that I use them. Oh wait, now I have like 4 palettes. Okay, so I'm going to put the Nabla one back. I'm not going to pick that one this week. Alright. Oh. So I have not yet picked my lip products. And the first one is still going to be the Urban Decay Ravenswood lipstick. I'm going to keep that in there because that's in my like project pan. And I decided that I wanted to use my Lisa Eldridge and Christian Audette lipsticks. So I have from Christian Audette the 3 lipsticks that Tara Lynn collabed with them to pick out. So this one is Company Card. It's like a peachy pink. Then I have C-Sweet. And then I have Miss Mistletoe. I actually used this one, I think it was last week. I did a little look for Instagram. So there are the 3 pinks. There also is a bit of a difference in formula. So this bottom one, which is Company Card, has more of a matte finish. This one definitely has more of a satiny, glossy finish. This one seems to be right in the middle. So I think I will go with this one. And this one is C-Sweet. So that's like a bright pinky one on me. And that's because this Urban Decay one, actually let's see how it looks next to them. There's the Urban Decay, so that's a little deeper, like just a little bit. So I'll go with this one because this is a bit brighter. And then let's check out my Lisa Eldridge lipsticks. so far. I feel like I'm gonna get more of them. Okay, so the first one I have is Velvet Carnival. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, that's pretty. Oh, hello. Hello, pink. Hi. Gosh, that's pretty. The next one is Velvet Myth. Nice deep color there. And the last one is Velvet Morning. Okay. You know what? Trying to look at like I really want to use this one, but I'm thinking of the palettes that I picked out, and I think this will clash just a little bit. Like, I don't always care, but this orange seems like it's just not going to go with all like the pinks and stuff that I have in the Huda palettes. So I think what I will do is I will take this middle one. So that's Velvet Myth. Okay. So I'll use this one and call it a day. Now I have 3 lipsticks, but I'm also realizing that I feel like I need a brown sort of nude. So let me think about that and see what I think might work. Okay, I went into my Urban Decay archives and I picked the shade 1993 from the Vice lipsticks, and I kind of swatched it right here, if you can see that. This, I know that I can make more brown, I would say, because of the lip liner that I use. So I'm not gonna pick out lip liners. I'm just gonna pick them when I, you know. Okay, so I grabbed a Juvias Place mini liquid lipstick, and this one is in the shade Bronze Chestnut, and it's this deep brown here. So I feel like I can do a lot with all the browns and pinks that I have. And remember when I said to tell me I don't need any more concealer? Also, please remind me that I don't need any more lipstick, and specifically, I don't need any more pinks. Okay, so I think that's everything. Brows are going to stay the same as always. It's going to be one of the Benefit products. Mascara. Oh, did I finish the Tarte one? Oh, there's a lash. Mascara, will use this one, probably the Marc Jacobs. And for powders, I'm still going to use my Flawless Finish. Might as well finish it up. And keeping in the Cover FX loose powder. Alright, so let's put everything together. So I decided I'm going to use this container tray rather than the makeup bag because I really want to be able to see the products that I'm going to use. So I will go ahead and start putting everything in. Okay, I think that's everything. And everything fits. Even the 5 lipsticks that I chose. Alright, so this will be the box or tray or container I picked from for the next week for sure. Maybe I will do 2 weeks. Kind of just depends. So I look forward to letting you know how I like everything. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.